Here we go. Welcome to the show. Our deadline day build up. What to expect? What do I want? What players do I want coming into Villa? What does Justin expect? And what do you guys at home expect as well? So we'll delve into all the little subtopics that I've got on this episode. If you are new, subscribe, hit a like on this stream, it'll help push it out further onto YouTube. But yeah, we'll gauge where we're at, what we think is going to happen, and what we don't think is going to happen. But you've heard my thoughts, and you've heard all of our thoughts all window, what we expect, what we want. And I think the majority of Villa fans have been saying we want players to come into Aston Villa that are going to improve the starting 11. And with that comes more of a difficulty to get players through the door because they are of a better quality than probably what we've got right now. So it makes it a little bit harder to get the players through the door. And what I'm gauging from it, and I'm gauging from what I'm reading in the comment section and off social media, is that fans want signings, and we all want signings. We all want signings to come through the door for whatever reason, to make the first team better, to make the bench better, to make the squad better. But I think the good thing that we have done is we've got rid of certain players that are bloating the squad, and then that in turn is leaving the squad a little bit on the thin side, which we'll get into that in a second. But for me, I'm happy that Villa appear to be sticking to plan A. And plan A is trying to attract the right players, and it's not deviating from that specific plan of what we've seen in the past. So what we've seen in the past is if we can't get the first player that we want in plan A, we then go to plan B, C, D, and E, and then we end up with the absolute garbage of what we've been signing in the past. And I'm so happy that we're not going down that road, and we seem to be sticking to our core principles of getting top bracket players in. And for me, if they don't come in this window, then I'm happy to wait until the summer and for Emery to get the correct players in. What I don't want is us to sign a player that we just have to have him because we look a little bit light in a certain area, and then he's here for 3 or 4 years and he's absolutely doing nothing. So that's where I'm at, and we'll have a look at the comments. So where are you at then, Justin? Because it does feel it is getting a bit squeaky bum time for a few.
Yes, it is. I'm off Twitter at the moment, and I'm probably glad I am because I can imagine the meltdown currently ensuing online. It feels definitely like the changing of the guard at Villa now. It feels like the manager has obviously been brought in with the remit to balance the squad and to get the players in that he wants to get in to get to where he wants the club and the team to get to. So he seems to have had a free rein really on outs, especially. I know they've brought 2 in, but getting players out of Premier League football clubs is very, very difficult to do, especially because the players we have signed in the past have all been given very good contracts at Villa. And probably we've had to give them contracts above the ability that they are to persuade them to come. And they haven't particularly lived up to the reputations when they came in. I'm thinking particularly of like the Sansons and Gilberts. So they're on very good money and they haven't come in and they haven't done what we hoped they would do. So that in itself means that you've got a player there that is not necessarily high up on the shopping list of many, many clubs all over Europe. So then that knock-on effect to that is you almost have to incentivise other clubs to take them off your hands. And that's not easy to do in the current market because apart from the Premier League, a lot of sort of European leagues now, the money's not swilling around like it is here. So they have to look for bargains, and that means you take a loss on them. I spoke to Christian Purslow at a meeting earlier in the year, and I actually had a pretty good chat with him on my own for about 5 minutes. And one of the things he did say was, buying players isn't that difficult. I know that sounds mad because we haven't got the players in that we hope we would, but getting them out of the club is really, really hard. So I think they've done a pretty good job of clearing the decks of players that, let's be right, apart from Danny Ings, none of them have played for us. Gilbert, Archer hasn't had the minutes on the pitch, and I think he'll definitely, we've seen already from that game he played yesterday, he'll benefit. Sanson hasn't played, Bednarak's barely played, Augustinson looks like he's on the way out to Canberra as well. I've seen Chambers been mentioned. How many minutes of those, barring Danny Ings, had on the pitch this season? So for people to sort of panic that these are the top players that are leaving, I think it's at the moment I'm not overly concerned, to be honest. We haven't got Europe. We've got 18 games left. And yes, you're always worried about injuries and suspensions and things like that. But, you know, if we can keep most of the players fit that we've got, we have got a very good first 11 and we've got a pretty solid bench currently. That's not to say I don't think that we will be trying till the last minute to bring players in tomorrow. I think that's categorically what's going to happen. And I think that's what's been going on for a while now. It's just at what stage? Well, I don't want panic. That's what I'm saying. At what stage do you panic? And they haven't, and they're not going to. Let's put that to bed now. This club aren't going to panic. The owners aren't going to panic. The money is there for signings.
But the thing is, though, Justin, I'm sort of like, what are we panicking for anyway? Because at the end of the day, we're sitting at 11th, 11 points above the relegation zone. We are not going down at all. I would, categorically say we're not going down. Yeah, we've got that argument of us sitting 3 points from 6th, but if you're being realistic, you're sort of going to say Chelsea and Liverpool will probably finish above us anyway, because they're probably going to get their act together at some point. And then
Chelsea have spent about 2 billion, so I mean, if they don't, there's something wrong there.
Exactly. And then you've got this whole argument of saying, like, you don't sell a player if you don't replace them. But like what you've just mentioned that point of about getting rid of some of the players that are so difficult to get rid of. If you look at the players that we're getting rid of, look where they're going. Okay, so we've got Nakamba that's possibly going to be going tomorrow. He's going to West Brom. So that clearly shows that the takers, what clubs are looking at some of our players and where they're going. They're not leaving us to go to top bracket Premier League sides. They're going down to the Championship. Bednarak's gone back to Southampton. Sanson's gone to a middle-of-the-road club in France. Gilbert's done exactly the same. Augustinson's going to... Where's he going? Mallorca.
Back to Seville, I think, or Mallorca.
So back to a middle-of-the-road Spanish side. Ings, albeit, has gone to West Ham, which, good money for Villa, 15 million, where in the summer you'd be getting £3 or £4 million. So all those players that have left Villa, that have been bloating that squad, don't feature for us. So what is the point in us keeping them around if they're just not going to play and we're only going to be happy that they stay because of, you know what, if he gets injured or he gets injured, Sanson might be able to come in and do a job. No, he won't. He won't be able to do a job because he's not good enough. And
we're past that now.
Has identified all these players that have gone simply aren't good enough. Augustinson, he's only been here 6 months. Unai Emery walks in the door. I'm not having none of you. You're not good enough. And he's cut the loan spell and he's gone back. So I just think this whole thing of, worrying that we're letting certain players go and we're left with X amount of players, it really doesn't bother me because I just think they were never going to play and they were never going to impact us or get us into the position that we want to be in the first place.
I think, like you say, and I agree. I think the concern is, and I'll say concern is that we're getting rid of squad players, and the worry from the fan base, and it's rightly, and of course it's right to think about this because who knows what could happen in a month's time when the window's been shut, and all of a sudden Watkins gets injured, a couple of midfielders get injured, a centre half gets injured, or gets sent off, misses 3 games. It is a concern that you are stripping the squad of squad players, but in my opinion, the narrative for me is behind that's driving this worry is that we've got a chance of top 7. We've got a chance of Europe. We have. I don't deny that. We've still got to play again the 10 teams that are above us. Now, bringing in 1 or 2 players, which we hope we'll do, yes, it probably would help us, but does it guarantee we're going to get into the top 7? Does it make us that much stronger? And I don't know. Obviously, if they're world class, it makes us better. But for me, it's the long-term vision we should be looking at now. We have got an outside chance of finishing in the top 7 or 8, and I think everything would have to go perfect. Even if we brought 2 or 3 players in, we would still have to get no injuries with the rest of the squad, because you need a bit of depth, don't you? I think we've got more than enough to put us around 10th this season. But the work we've done now, we're going to see the benefit of it in the summer, in my opinion, and going forward to next season, which is what really matters for me. It's what's going on next season. That's what we've got to look towards. There's no point in thinking short term all the time. It has to be a long term plan, and we are now. The market we are going in now is high end. When we got promoted into the Premier League, you are shopping for players that are no longer wanted, in my opinion, by the Premier League clubs that you've just entered, in my opinion. So you are getting players that aren't wanted, a bit like the players we are now shipping on, the Sansons, the Augustinsons being released, the Gilbert, the Ingses. We would have been looking for players like that, and they are available, and you can get them if you give them decent wages. Now we are looking at the players that clubs don't want to sell. The likes of Guendouzi, the likes of whoever else we've been linked with, who are all playing. That winger that's at the top of the league, Spanish second league division. They don't want to get rid of him. Guendouzi plays every single game for Marseille, so to try and get him out of that club is very, very difficult, because they've got to get a replacement, and you're asking them to get a replacement for one of their best players, and you don't just walk down to Morrison's and pick one off the shelf. You have to do due diligence, and you have to build this up. So all of a sudden, somebody comes sniffing around your best player.
Look when we signed Kamara. That was like 6 months in the making, weren't it?
Yeah.
They were traveling to the games. They traveled to his house. They met all of his family. That's just one thing that goes into a transfer. It's like, oh, we want Guendouzi, 45 mil. Yeah, we'll pay 45 mil. Like you're saying, there's more to it than that. And I just think we're just after top players. And if they're not ready and they're not willing to come at the minute, then we don't deviate from the plan and go to plan B, C, and D in a certain position if we're not 100% for that player. And I think what's happening with Villa at the minute and Unai Emery is that everybody can see that we're playing a certain system. So the certain players have to come into the squad, come in and fit the squad and fit the team, and they have a purpose in that team. So if he's identified, I don't know, let's just say Guendouzi as a player that's going to play in the McGinn position, right? Or the Ramsey position. And for whatever reason, we've struggled to negotiate and he can't come in, right? Why then do we have to turn our attention and go, if you don't want to come, then who's next on the list? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think the scattergun approach we've had in the past is gone. Let's look at 6 players at centre half and then get one of them. We'll just get one of them. I think it's too broad, isn't it? Like you're saying, we have identified, if it's true, it seems to be true because the amount of noise behind Guendouzi's got to be something in it, that he's our number one target for the midfield. There's a reason why he wants him. He's worked with him in the past. He ticks the boxes of where he wants him to play. He likes his attitude. He's improved his temperament. He's in good age. He'll only improve. There's lots of things ticking his box. So I think until that is dead in the water, they obviously will have a second and a third option for that position, because you don't always get who you want. But until that deal is absolutely dead in the water, and it obviously isn't, it might just mean that Marseille have given us enough encouragement to say, look, There's a deal to be done. I think, the player is keen to come to you. The money's right. We're not far away. But as it stands in January, we don't want to let him go. We just don't want to let him go. We want to finish the season with him and finish as high as we can. And then in the summer, we probably won't be able to stop him leaving. So what choice do you have then as a club? Do you then say, okay, sod it, don't bother with him. We'll just go for the second choice. Or do you go, let's delay it till the summer and we'll get it done in the summer. We'll get our number one target in the summer. That, for me, is the best way to do it because you're getting the player you really want. You're not just getting fobbed off and saying, let's just get the second choice. Because in the summer, he could go somewhere else and be absolutely brilliant. So I like that approach. I like doing that. And unless we are told categorically, A, he doesn't want to come, and B, they don't want to sell, that's when you move on to your next choice. At the moment, I think there's enough encouragement with the players that we want that we might still see one or two done tomorrow because they might blink at the last minute and we might go in big and call their bluff. But there's enough there to postpone it till the summer. Like I say, 18 games. Would you rather have, and it's pie in the sky until he signs, would you rather have Guendouzi being brilliant for us for the next 5 seasons and wait for him for half a season, or get somebody in on a panic buy and in 18 months having to ship him out the door again like we've seen in the past? And it's not an exact science, is it? Because you just never know. We've seen players come in for 100 million and go to clubs and not do well. I mean, the approach Chelsea are doing now, I can't for a minute think that they've done due diligence on every single one of them players at all. And they're just suddenly going scattergun and buying everybody. We'll have in for 100 million, in for 70 million, in for 40 million. I just don't think that's the case.
Yeah, and I mean, we're getting some comments who completely disagree with us. So we're getting
that's fine.
No
problem.
Up saying why sellings. We're not panicking.
Well, I'll deal with that one. The Danny Ings deal for me was an absolute no-brainer.
Same for me.
He's going into his 30s. He's the second or third highest paid player at the club. You will not get that money for him again in the summer. Just categorically will not. The deal came up and it was decision to sell him. Now you've brought Duran in for about the same money as we've got for him. That's got his whole career ahead of him. Yes, he's an unknown quantity, but the manager trusts his decision making, and I trust the manager. That's the main thing. I trust the manager. I trust the manager to make the right decision. Danny Ings obviously has done okay for us this season, but he hasn't set the world on. Let's not suddenly reinvent Danny Ings as the saviour of Aston Villa. He hasn't come in and got 30 and 60 for us. He's done okay. He's done okay when he comes on. He's a decent Premier League footballer, but he's not the player to take us to the next level. So they had to make a decision on him, and they got good money for him, and I think it was the right tour.
And the thing is with Danny Ings, you basically got half the money back. So what would have happened is in the summer, you'd have been moaning that we sold Danny Ings for £3 million, £5 million when you've spent £30 million on him. So to get £15 million back is actually decent business. So, and for me as well, it's like, okay, we left a little bit light up top. So the striker area, we're a little bit light. So we're an injury away from having to start Duran up front. But if we sign a striker now on a fee, then we are left with this player because at the end of the day, I think we need to go big and sign a decent striker, someone better than Ollie Watkins eventually. But if you're going to sign a striker now just to get you till the summer and you're spending £7 million on the dude from, where is it? The dude from Lyon. What was Dembele? Yeah. Dembele is never going to be the striker that fires us into Europe or gets us climbing the Premier League table. It's just going to be a stopgap to get you through till the summer. And then in the summer, you're going to be left with him. And then you're going to want to find another striker to be better than what we've got. So for me, that's where I'm at with it. And I've got here that how's the squad looking then? So how is the bench looking? What have we got currently on the bench? Because I know a lot of you were saying that, we've got 2 goalkeepers that we're going to that were on the bench against Southampton. So this is what I've got up here now. And this is basically our bench for Leicester. So you've got Olsen as a keeper. You've got Matty Cash, Chambers as cover for centre-back. You've got Luca Dean, then Donker for cover in the double pivot or centre-back area, played for Belgium in the World Cup. You've got McGinn, who's going to be back fit, Coutinho, Caden Young, and Duran. What are your thoughts on that, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, as a bench, if that was the bench on Saturday, then you'd say, well, that's a pretty good bench, isn't it? You got internationals all over the pitch. Yes, it's slightly unproven up the top end, although I do really like Young. I think he's a great prospect. And I've heard the Villa fans for many years saying the young kids don't get enough chances, so that there might be an opportunity for a few of them to come in and be on the bench. The likes of Josh Feeney, Tommy O'Reilly, Orin Reiki, I really like Young. I'm not saying that they're going to be starters for 20 games. I'm just saying if you lose one or two of these players that are currently on the bench, then you have got young players that can come in and fill the spots. And I've seen ambition being mentioned, and of course we're ambitious. Do you not think if a deal was there to be done for the player they want, we wouldn't have done it? That's my reading into it. If there's a player there that the manager really wants, the club that are selling wants to sell him, and the player wants to come, that deal would have been done, like we did it with Moreno, like we did it with Duran. We will do deals if we need it, if we need to do them, 100%. But the person I back the most out of everybody at this football club is Unai Emery. We have got a world-class manager. And if it is good enough for him, it is good enough for me. I don't see what he sees. I don't sit in the meetings he sits in. So I am not panicking. And I know people are worried, and I know people are saying that other clubs are spending. Newcastle have had a ridiculous season. They're currently sitting in the top four. Obviously, with the money they have got back in, they're another Man City in the making. And they're going to be able to sign players because of where they are in the league. We're not sitting in the top four. We are still building. We're still trying to get momentum. And we are getting there. We really are getting there. We're looking so much better. So I think, don't panic. Stick with the programme. Back the lads. Whatever happens tomorrow happens. But for the rest of the season, just see it out. I really think that. I'm passionate about it, that we haven't got to panic. And let's not throw anybody under the bus either. We're seeing a lot of change at Villa now. And I would rather it happen now, halfway through a season, when we're out of both cup competitions, we're sitting mid-table with an outside chance of maybe Europe if everything goes our way. If Ollie Watkins suddenly finds his shooting boots, none of the defenders get injured, and we have a brilliant end to the season. We've got Arsenal and Man City coming up to win the next 3 games. If we win them 2, obviously we could have a great chance of it, but for me, it's about building. I've had enough of this boom and bust at Villa, and it doesn't work. You throw everything at it, and you hope some of it sticks, and then you might have the odd good game when you win a game. I don't want that anymore. I want momentum. I want constant improvement. I want to keep going, and I want to get higher and higher. If that means 2 positions every season from where we are now, I will take that all day long. If it means sustainability, if we can get in that top 5 and top 6 and top 7 every season and keep replacing 1 or 2 players every window to improve, I'm all over that. The stadium's been improved. They do great work behind the scenes. Just back them. That's it. That's all you've got to do. Back them. Yes, it is a bit frustrating. The squad looks a little bit depleted, but we'll be all right. Honestly, we're not in a championship. We haven't got Tony Jar in charge of us anymore. We haven't got Randy Lerner pulling the plug on us anymore. We haven't got Doug Ellis, if you go back that far, not sanctioning signings anymore. We've got brilliant owners, fantastic manager, and the beginnings of a very, very good squad. Sorry for the rant.
Too. And I feel like the biggest signing that we could possibly have made, we made him in November, didn't we? And that was Unai Emery coming in, because for once it feels like, for me, that we've actually got like a standard and a level that we won't drop below. And in the past, that's what I feel like transfer windows have done. We've just faffed about and just ended up with just a load of rubbish walking through the door. So, if you're looking at the current form of Aston Villa at the minute, where are we? Like top 5 in the form table at the minute.
Yeah.
So if you look at this current squad that we've got and what Emery's had to work with, is absolutely working wonders with the squad that we've got. And I feel like this form will just, we might not be top 5, but I think we'd probably be around top 8, top 7, top 10 form now until the rest of the season. So that's where, for me, I don't feel like if the player don't fit and we're not 100% on that plan A not working, then I don't feel like we should go into plan B. And that's what I'm saying. And there's still people in the comments saying we're talking rubbish. Richard's still going on about talking rubbish about
You know
Danny.
what? I've got no problem with it, Luke. I haven't, because there is no right and there is no wrong with football. This is what this channel was built for. This is what we did it for. This is what your vision was for fans to have their say and talk and an open debate about this. I could be wrong. I'm very often wrong. You only have to look at my score predictions to know how wrong I am all the time. But it's an opinion, and from what I've seen, unfortunately, I go back a very long way with Villa. I've seen ups and downs. And I want sustained growth. That's all I want. It's not. I don't want Premier League title in 1 year. That's ridiculous. I want sustained growth to build this club with a massive. Ryan's favourite word: get the foundations right, and it all come from that. Give the manager what he wants, and he will get it right. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, cool. Right, so what do we think's coming tomorrow then? So I have got one name where I feel like we're going to go on loan. I think we're going to go for Ziyech on loan. I think he possibly will be coming in tomorrow. And I think we will be signing a striker on loan. That's just my general vibe. I think the two will be coming in. I think there'll be 2 loans. I think there'll be a midfielder on loan and a striker on loan. Just because I think, if we are light up top, then we may just go for a little cheeky striker. What do you reckon?
I think we're going to go big on somebody. I think there'll be a big bid put in. As I say, tomorrow is the day to call teams bluffs. The bluffing and the negotiations have been going on behind the scenes. Unfortunately, we don't know what's going on, but I think clubs are saying, if you give us this, you can have him, and we're just gone, okay, not at the moment. I might be wrong again. I say I might be wrong. We haven't had a big, massive transfer window deadline day for a very, very long time, and with all the outgoings and with the money that's available, there's a potential to go big tomorrow with 1 or 2 players. I would love 3. I'd love at least 1 permanent, if not 2, and 1 loan. There's some names knocking about now that have been freed up. The amount of players Chelsea are signing. I love Ziyech. I thought he was fantastic in the World Cup. I think he's one of their scapegoats at Chelsea this season. I go on a Chelsea fan podcast twice a year, and they're lovely lads, and they can't believe the way he's been treated there. He's been bombed out. He would be a great signing for us, playing multiple positions, get him in on loan, and then show him what we're all about, and maybe make it permanent in the summer. And then 1 or 2 more. I do like Conor Gallagher. I think he's got a high ceiling. I think he's another one that's been in and out of Chelsea, and another one with the amount of players they're signing. There's rumours now that clubs are starting to sniff around him a bit. And I think that, and if it all doesn't go well, I think that there will be 1 or 2 loans coming in just to supplement the squad till the end of the season. That's how I see it.
Yeah, so apparently Gallagher's turned down Chelsea. I've turned down Everton, sorry.
Which is not surprising, is it?
Nah, you kind of would think they're still at the possibility of heavily getting relegated, aren't they?
Yeah.
And there's just a big risk there.
I think with the season he had at Albion and the season that he then went on to have at Palace shows that in a settled, in a team playing regularly, he's a really good player. He made the England squad for the World Cup as well. Another player that's just they're not getting the best out of him, and definitely worth maybe looking at him. Even if we're just on loan to the end of the season to supplement the squad. But I do see something happening tomorrow. I really do. I think this time tomorrow things might look a bit more promising. Hopefully.
Yeah, and I'm a bit with you. I think we might test the waters with someone. And I said to you guys earlier that I feel like we might just have a take it or leave it offer for somebody, and we'll see where it goes. So yeah. So what we're gonna do tomorrow, we will be going live multiple times throughout the day with any news that's coming. We're gonna go live in the morning, and then lunchtime, and then on the evening, and then we'll go through everything about what's happened during the day, ins and outs as well. So yeah, that's just our thoughts on what we expect. So yeah, cheers everyone for watching. If you are new, subscribe, drop this video a like, and hopefully tomorrow we'll have loads of signings coming in up the Villa.
Big day tomorrow, up the Villa.